The person who is the fanatic, they do harm to the church and they do harm to the unbelieving world. In what way? To the church, they lay burdens on other believers that Jesus Christ never laid upon them. You see that? Making rules Jesus never made. And burdening, like the Pharisees burdened God's people in the time of Jesus, burdening them with rules that Jesus never gave them. But also, the fanatic is dangerous for the unbeliever. Why? Because the fanatic puts obstacles in front of the believer, of the unbeliever, so that the unbeliever stumbles at Christianity before he ever gets a chance to stumble at the gospel. The only thing the unbeliever should stumble at is the gospel we proclaim. Do you see that? But oftentimes if we lay the gospel and then a whole bunch of rules and a whole bunch of nuances and all kinds of different things, they stumble and say that's crazy, and they never stumble at the thing that they should stumble at. And that is the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's why in this church, we may be different in many different ways and want to have different expressions at times, but let me tell you something. It cannot be tolerated. The thing that we must proclaim is Jesus Christ crucified and risen from the dead. And that our hope and the hope of the world is found in that. Not in some little quirk or nuance that we might have. Jesus Christ. Now, I want to say this also. Oftentimes, we see ignorance as a disability, and we see the ignorant person as a victim. Is that true? We don't look at it so much as a sin. They don't know something, it's a disability. They're a victim to their lack of knowledge, but the Bible never sees it that way. Now look, all of us are born into Christianity as infants, as immature, capable of doing some extraordinarily ridiculous things. But in the Scriptures, none of us are supposed to stay that way. Our ignorance of the things of God is gradually to be replaced by the true knowledge of God. And if it is not, the Bible lays the blame on our shoulders. Why? Because we have been given the faculty to know Him and to know His will. Again, it doesn't, I've known in my life some extraordinary minds. I've said about some men that they've got more knowledge of God in their finger than I have in my whole body, and that's true. And they can seem to grasp concepts that I can't even begin to understand. I'm not saying that all believers walk on the same level with regard to knowledge and insight, but what I am saying is that all believers have the faculty to know enough about God and His will to live in the most beautiful fashion, the most glorious and holy way.